Hello, I'm Area C Director Rick Knodel. The following presentation is the first reading of the draft budget for Area C for 2022. This budget is subject to change before the second reading on February 17th, 2022. You are encouraged to provide feedback before that time. I will turn this over now to RDOS Finance Manager Jim Zaffino.
The following presentation is a high-level overview of the budget, and it's 500 pages, and here it is. To view detailed budgets, please visit the RDOS Regional Connections Interactive website. To review any of the slides presented in this video, please hit pause. The following slides provide information about the RDOS Legislative Foundation. Each regional district is a corporation. The RDOS has 9 electoral areas represented by rural directors elected to their position. The 6 municipalities represented on the board appoint their members. Regional districts are not taxing authorities. Regional districts do not tax municipalities. Regional district taxes are based on the services, not the location. Some regional district services are legislated, including general government, solid waste management plans, and E911 telecommunications. Most regional district services are by choice. Property in a rural area will receive their tax notices from the Surveyor of Taxes, and the taxes are paid to the province. The following slides cover taxes. To review any of these slides, please hit pause. The following slides provide information about the RDOS budget structure. A regional district is different than a municipality. Regional districts create a separate budget for every service it operates. For the 2022 budget, the RDOS has 156 separate services and therefore 156 separate budgets. Separate budgets ensure only those who participate in the service pay for the service. The budget process launched in October 2021. The budget includes approved change requests. Budget workshops were held November 5th and 9th, 2021. The provincial legislation requires the budget to be adopted by March 31st, 2022. The following slides provide information about RDOS services. You can hit pause at any time to review the slides. You can also visit RDOS Regional Connections to view detailed budgets. Regional services are services where the majority of the electoral areas and municipalities participate. For regional services, all properties in the municipality and electoral areas contribute. Regional services include heritage, conservation, corporate facilities, legislative services, and regional trails. Rural services are services where the majority of the electoral areas participate. For rural services, all properties in the electoral area contribute. Rural services include animal control, electoral area administration, and planning. Shared services are services where only those participating in the services pay for the shared services. Local services are services where only a defined group of properties within an electoral area participate. Examples include fire protection and water systems. Staff begin building budgets for each service in October. The 2022 budget is prepared along with the additional 4 years. New requests or changes come forward as program change requests. If approved, the item is added into the draft budget. The official title of the draft budget is 2022-2026 5-Year Financial Plan. The board can make changes to the budget up until it is adopted. Feedback from public consultation is presented to the board along with the budget bylaw for second and third reading and adoption. By legislation, the budget must be adopted by March 31st, 2022. This presentation is in regards to Electoral Area C, and it is at first reading. And just to clarify, the director of every electoral area can change the budget up to and including adoption. With this first slide, it shows that the area is at 3.8% for property assessment. So that's 3.8% of the total assessment in the regional district, which means in all areas that C participates in, that's the percentage that they would pay for the expenses in the budget. As you can also see, 2021 is 3.83 and 2020 is 3.84. It's very close. The other area of increase and in concern in some areas is the increase in the assessment for the average property values. And in 4C, it was 27.82%. However, for this case here, it is lower than the regional district average. So overall, electoral area C will bear a lower overall tax burden in all cases that area C participates in. Administration overhead, as far as the regional district is concerned, is a supporting costs to supply services to the 156 services that are controlled by the regional district. The services that are required are human resources, legislative services, finance, corporate services, and information services. There is a formula applied that the board has formally approved on and will be reviewed on a 4-year basis, starting with the first year in 2022. One of the biggest increases in the overhead charges for this budget is the information services. This service is required to keep the doors open. There's a lot of upgrades for software and hardware, and these costs are not in reserves, and they have to be funded through administration overhead. The other areas that increased in the budget is a program change requests. The first change request that would have been looked at by the board and reviewed are the grant and aid requests. The next slide actually shows the grant and aids that were requested and all those that were approved and how much were approved. The other grant and aid requests would be on a yearly basis. They have to apply and ask and request it on a year basis, so it's not something that's continuous. Other increases in the budget are asks. There's a business plan required for full-time equivalent additions, so that's new staff, and also increase in service levels. That business plan is made up by the manager, and the board reviews them all. The ones that you're about to see are the business plan that were approved by the board, how much the costs are, and who pays for these increases. So on the column that states the service name, that's where the costs would go against. So the first one would be a full-time equivalent wages. This next slide is also wages and shows the breakdown. Again, this is for engineering, and it's for a new position for the engineering department. And these are the last two increases, and that's for general government for legislative services. Next section I thought that you may all be interested in is the capital component of the budget. And this is the first year the capital component has been separated from the operational. Up until now, operational capital have been one budget. And in this slide here, it shows that Area C does get benefit for capital for 911 emergency call system. Building inspections is also on here. The regional trails is something that the Electoral Area C does pay in, and thus it is on the slide. One thing I just want to emphasize is that all these expenses are funded only through grants or reserves. So it's not an increase in the budget for 2022. At one point in the past, the reserves were taxed on the operational side, but it's helping fund these capital projects. And there's this one here is a solid waste management, with the Area C does participate in. And this one's for the arenas for the Parks and Recreation, which is a partnership between the town of Oliver and the Electoral Area C. So these are the capital projects for arena. This project is contingent on us receiving the grant. This is for the recreational hall, the capital projects to keep it going. The next slide is a capital project for Parks Reserve Services. This is for the Willowbrook Fire Protection Area, so they have a small amount of capital requests for 2022. Loose Bay Campground, Area C is responsible for that area, and there's a $390,000 capital project, and that's being funded through grants. This slide is a comparison for 2021-22 budget. It shows that 21-22 are fairly comparable. There are one major project for $8 million for composting that does increase the capital cost. However, that's being funded mostly through grants. Also, there's a $7.2 million carry forward capital projects from last year to this year. The Electoral Area C tax requisition for this year is $2,350,000, which is a $101,000 increase from 2021, which is a 4.51% tax increase. However, once you take into account non-market growth, it's 3.08%. What I've also shown is how that $101,000 increased and why. And this slide shows the service, the amount that is increased for just Area C, and why there's an increase. And you would be paying a percentage of that increase. That's why you'll see, for instance, under emergency call system, there's one increase for $110,000. However, only $2,400 is based on for Area C, and that's because the breakdown is based on assessments. And this is just a continuation of the material increases continued. And this is finally the last one. As you can see, the total bottom right corner, it's $120,000 is accounted for of the total increase. There are some decreases in the budget, and that's why it's not the full $120,000. This is the tax requisition by service for Area C, and this is something that is reviewed and voted on as a whole for the regional districts. All directors look at this and have a control on the budget. And while the electoral area directors as a whole vote on the total budget, the specific directors for each area have more control on the areas that of their concern. For instance, Willowbrook Fire Department, while all the directors vote on it, it's the director and the chief that look at this and make the recommendations. So this is just a continuation of the tax requisition. This last few slides, this one here shows the tax requisition for each of the municipal areas, and you can see the comparison from one year to another, and also the Penticton Indian Band. And this is the same thing except for electoral areas, but again for 2021 and 2022. I thought you might be interested in looking at the average taxes for value of a property from $500,000 to $1 million. So this is by municipality and electoral area. And this is just something that is new to the regional district, where I show the cost per capita. You look at any regional district budget, you see the costs attributed to each area and municipality at the assessment level. The higher the population, obviously the higher the assessment, the more the cost. However, the higher the population, the more benefits that are arrived from that area. So doing a cost per capita shows that what the actual benefits are per resident. This is just a straight pie graph that shows where everyone is in the regional district budget circle. And this is information where you can review the budget. Thank you.
And I thank you. We are looking forward to your feedback on the 2022 budget.